Greetings, upstanders. Dr. O here. And so many people are rightfully crediting Mamdani for his win in New York. But I find it very interesting that people are so quick to hail him as the new Democratic hero that they're ignoring some obvious issues that are going to be a challenge for him going into the citywide election. This is a primary. But I want to start with Bernie Sanders, who has made himself more and more irrelevant. He has may yes, big rallies, so on and so forth, him getting out there with AOC. But you know what the difference is between AOC and Bernie Sanders? AOC is a Democrat. And Bernie Sanders runs as an independent, talks independent, and now he wants to talk about Kamala Harris, talking about if Mamdani ran, if Harris ran a campaign like Mamdani, she would be president. Are you serious? Like, how ignorant and disrespectful can you be? And how ignorant of the basic facts can you be about this particular issue? Number one, we're talking about a Democratic primary in one city versus an entire national election where Harris had to run against she had to worry about voters from all sides of the spectrum. New York is like what, over 2/3 Democratic. I mean, so that just doesn't make any sense. And then talking about she didn't run a campaign for other people. Now, look, there are valid concerns about Harris moving away from the base and trying to spend more time on like Liz Cheney and other groups. There's no question about that, and I think that's one of the main critiques that people can have of her campaign. But to sit here and compare this guy and Mamdani's running an election for the people. And he's running on this great economic policy. Why did he not get the majority? Why did he not get a large portion of people who are actually poorer in New York City? Is that something worthy of being analyzed? Let's also be mindful of the fact that he lost the black vote to Cuomo by almost 20 points. So let's be real. Now that works well with Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders is somebody who refuses to talk about race, and always when he gets asked about race, always likes to divert to some type of economic policy, as if some type of economic policy is always going to benefit the people. So here's a question to ask: if Mamdani lost the black vote in New York City by almost 20 points to Cuomo, to Cuomo, who got the endorsement of people like Clyburn and so on and so forth, what do you think is going to happen with Eric Adams when it goes into the fall? I mean, this is people are talking about. Oh, there was never an interview. I saw Jonathan Lemire on Morning Joe. There was never an interview that Mamdani would turn down. He didn't interview with any black folks outside of the Breakfast Club. Didn't no Roland Martin, no Sirius XM Urban View. Like run down the list. He didn't talk to black voters. Can y'all be mindful of that? Can y'all be a little bit critical as it relates to that? So here's a man running for mayor who did not get the majority of, who lost the black vote decisively and did not get a strong support from poor voters in New York City, the people who he's claiming to champion. These are things that are worthy of critique, and Bernie Sanders may want to think about that. Bernie Sanders, who last time I checked, Kamala got more votes than him in Vermont. So where are we going with this, Bernie? Where are we going with this, Mamdani? So people, look, you praise the person who wins. Obviously, you look at what they did and how they won, and he definitely ran a campaign that was more people oriented and the like, and he deserves credit for that. And definitely went against the Democratic establishment. He deserves credit for that. But to compare a mayoral race, not even a race, a primary with Kamala Harris's entire campaign, if y'all think that y'all gonna get more points in this Democratic Party by continually taking shots at Kamala Harris, and Mamdani has some questions to answer about how he's talked about Harris as well as Obama, which black folks are gonna want to know. Look, Eric Adams ain't Cuomo. He still has support from black people. Not all, but he says a lot of. And when he was running before the scandals broke, he came on black media outlets. I recall interviewing him when he asking him questions when he came on Roland Martin. So Mamdani's got some work to do there. And of course, Eric Adams is most likely going to have more law enforcement people on his side than somebody like Mamdani, who people are saying is running on a defund the police mentality. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what people are saying. And of course, the question about where he stands on Israel is something that's going to come into play as well. Look, Republicans are chomping at the bit to want to bring Mamdani down. And Eric Adams, as we talked about on the Clay Kane show, is basically going to be running as a Republican candidate. So look, give credit where credit was due with Mamdani winning fair and square and landslide and so on and so forth. But don't praise him as this everyman who's just reaching out to everybody, who's everybody's just embracing. And Bernie Sanders, keep Kamala Harris's name out your mouth. Like, what's the point? What's the point? Last time I checked, you ran for president, and didn't you run on the same type of platform that Mamdani ran on? And last time I checked, you still senator. So there's a disconnect here that I'm not really getting. Your math ain't mathing. And so, really, at the end of the day, Mamdani has a lot of work to do with black voters. There's going to be a citywide election now in terms of who he's going to, in terms of the money that's going to be coming in, so on and so forth. Primary is over. And he has a lot of work to do. And I believe that if he cares for it and is up to the task, he will get out there and do that. But I wish the media would be honest about the voters where he didn't get the biggest support and the work that he needs to do, as opposed to, just calling him this champion, this everyman who just did it for the people and so on and so forth, because all the people weren't with him. And it remains to be seen if they'll be with him in the fall, particularly as it relates to black voters and poor voters. Let me know y'all's thoughts. Peace out.